So I want to do a video here on the creative process. It's a word or a phrase that's sort of maybe a buzzword that people throw around a lot. I'm fascinated by it though. It has this air to it, this weight, the creative process. It's such a beautiful concept. And I think sometimes, it's not linear, although I have this diagram from a book that I actually want to show you guys, the life of a project. From Steal Like an Artist. And it talks about, at first, this is the best idea ever, then you start to go down, this is harder than I thought, this is going to take some work, blah, blah, blah. Get to the dark night of the soul at the bottom, and then you come back up, and it's like, okay, it'll be good to finish, because I'll learn something. Then at the end, it's done, it sucks, but not as bad as I thought. And I like that concept. I want to kind of spin off of it, though, in my own way, because I think so in the context of a personal story and example, I took a small project from a client, design project, on Monday. It needed to be done by today. Very quick turnaround time. And on Monday, you just have to start, right? So I started, sketched a few things in my notebook, because drawing is the language of design. It's something that I think is very true. And start to move the ideas onto the computer, and you're just lost. But you have an ounce of a direction, right? I mean, that is the creative process. You're creating something from scratch. And after I closed my computer Monday night, the first go around, I'm like, this project sucks. I'm not a good designer. What am I doing with my life? And almost becomes this existential doubt of your ability. And then, but the solace that you can take is at least you've started, right? Like, there is this phrase, and I don't completely agree with it, but I like it for this context, that all work works, or something like that. Like, I was here, and now I'm here. I've made this much progress, and I've gotten the wigglies out. I've moved out of I've displaced a degree of chaos and invisibility and formlessness, right? I mean, that was the creative process of God, right? In the beginning was the heavens and the earth, and now the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. That's where we all begin in the creative process. There's a formlessness, there's a darkness, there's a nebulousness, there's a kind of sense of, it's a void, it's the blank canvas, right? The white piece of paper that's just staring at you. And you just start to write things down, you just start to draw things, you just start to make, and you start to make sense. And you keep receipts, that's the idea. Non-destructive design, non-destructive editing. You make something, you keep it, you see it, you have it there, then you make something else, and you realize, oh, that thing connects to this, or oh, that didn't look good there, but now when I use it bigger, or with this piece, it's really actually popping now. And then you start to fall into a tune, you start to discover a living language of design, of art, of creativity, of form. You're moving from formlessness to form, right? And that's such a powerful process. I mean, what a beautiful process that we humans get to go through. And so I had this nebulous vision, and if I showed you the sketch, guys, it's horrendous. I had the chutzpah to bring over the sketch and into Illustrator, and draw on top of it and turn the sketch into a digital version. It looked even worse digitally. But I did a little bit of creative research, a little bit of borrowing of ideas, and just kept pushing when it's right. And I love this quote, and I'll finish with this. Something, I'm going to butcher it. It's from Tom Sachs, though, one of my favorite artists. And he says something like, when it gets hard, give up or quit. And he's basically saying, like, and this is where the all work works doesn't play out. He's basically saying, if you get stuck in a project, an artistic project, a creative endeavor, don't keep forcing it. Stop, swallow your pride. This is me adding it in. Go on. Go on to the next part. Do something else. Remove yourself. Come back to it, and it's going to work out. It's going to work itself out. Maybe even if you work on a different part of the project, it sheds light, it elucidates, right? Because you want to be in the flow. You want to be, I love Tom Sachs calls it the sensuality of making, right? You want to be in that, and it's bigger than just making, in that flow state. And the flow state is something that we can all enter into, and it's the sense of timelessness. It's you're in an altered state of consciousness. Things are clearer. Life is better. Joy is happening, right? And when you start to hit these blockages and you sense, okay, this is a block I'm not actually going to get through right now, the flow ends. So keep the flow going. Point it around in a different direction, right? You're not going to push through this thing. That's when all work doesn't work. Then you're wasting, you're to use spiritual language, you're striving in your own strength, right? Just make sure no one is behind me listening to me. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. So, ironically, cliche, but trust the process, enjoy the process, and the end of the story for me is I came up with something thinking I'm actually a good designer. I'm actually a darn good designer, and that is probably in and of itself an overcorrection to the opposite of where I started, of complete existential doubt in my abilities. But well, might as well add one more thing while we're here. Christoph Niemann, who's a brilliant illustrator, designer, says the best way to combat this doubt is to practice. And he says you can practice art just like you practice a sport, right? You do it, you mess up, you fail, you get a coach, you take an online course, right? You work through that formlessness of, I'm not very good, but do I have anything to prove that I'm not very good? But then I work, and then I make something, and then I practice, and then I make it better, and then I hone my craft, and then I learn this skill, and then that also encapsulates and enables the flow state, right? The flow state happens when you're on the edge between challenge and competence, right? Risk and safety. And the flow state happens when it's just hard enough to pull you to a heightened level of focus, but it's not too difficult. Again, back to the blockage. It's not too difficult to stop you from advancing and progressing and working and moving. And when you've increased your competence and your craftsmanship and your ability to create and to use the tools within your craft and your discipline, it becomes easier to enter the flow state. Things that once you had to think about, you no longer have to think about. So that mental space is freed up for pushing the boundaries, for innovating. Okay. We're at 10 minutes, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't know even where this is going to get posted out, but it's a little bit of long form content. Long form, baby. We're getting long formed in it. Yeah, I got to finish. All right, I'm done.